The 80s. We could divide the 80s in America in two parts, the nice one and the rough one. And with this one, we are going to begin the video. United States at the 80s was basically an addiction to drugs, money, status, easy money got it by ambitious people trying to get rich, fast living and self-indulgence. Also, the economy wasn't going very well. Despite in the 1980s, American economy was suffering a deep recession since it had a deficit of about $74 billion. By 1983, the economy had rebounded and enjoyed a sustained period of growth. Why? Basically because of the Reaganomics and his supply-side economy. Nevertheless, by 1986, the federal budget deficit ballooned to $221 billion. It fell back to $150 billion in 1987, but then it started growing again. And then is when the Federal Reserve came in. However, another important issue of the 80s in America was Wall Street, which was the heart of America's financial district. It had such importance that CEOs earned 42 times more than a common worker, and that motivated people to leave other occupations to work on it. It is said that the value of Wall Street is greed, and the secret of its success was corruption, since the drugs, unhealthy ambitions, the God complex, and the misuse of classified information became a common point between all these Wall Street traders. Other important events occurred, such as the Black Monday, in which Dow Jones lost 22.6% of points, which is the biggest crash since the Great Depression in 1929, or the sexual inequality on the salaries, in which women earned about 65% less than men. Apart from the economy, we have the drug use. Definitely abuse. By 1988, there were 2.2 million addicts to drugs, most of them cocaine and crack. First of all, cocaine. The cocaine was a very expensive drug that had its importation route through the Caribbean, which led me to Pablo Escobar, who was the Colombian most famous and important drug baron, so much so that he became the 7th richest man in the world. Also, the mayor of Washington, Marion Barry, was caught twice using crack cocaine.
Wait, crack? What was that?
Well, from dealers, a dream drug cheap and easy to make appeared. The crack, also known as the narcotic jackpot, was more profitable than any other drug. Obviously, the government had to respond to this issue, so President Reagan started the war on drugs through laws, just as the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986. It tried that people just say no to drugs by increasing the drugs education. Also, drug use was considered a crime. And last but not least, the 80s saw assassinations and other crimes against important people or public figures, such as the assassination of John Lennon on December 8, 1980, the attempt against Ronald Reagan on March 30 of 1981, the death of Bob Marley on May 11, 1981, and despite it is not a crime, it is one of NASA's biggest catastrophes, the explosion of a space shuttle Challenger on January 28, 1986, where all the crew members inside the space shuttle lost their lives. By the other hand, the nice part. The 80s had a lot of good things and occurred a lot of important events that I am going to tell you. Creation of Pac-Man in 1980 by Toru Iwatani. Sandra Day O'Connor became the first woman to reach the Supreme Court of Justice, appointed by President Reagan in 1981. IBM launches the first personal computer in April of 1981, and in August of the same year, it was released to public at a price of $1,565. First American woman in the space was Sally Ride, who on June 18, 1983, flew into space when Shuttle Challenger was launched on the STS-7 mission. Leading the Billboard Top 10, Michael Jackson became the flagship artist of the 1980s. songs like Thriller from the album of the same name became the best-selling album in history, surpassing 65 million copies in the US. Steve Jobs became one of the most influential national men of the 80s, who with only 25 years old launched Apple in 1980, the biggest one after the Ford Motor Company in 1956. This inspired most of the entrepreneurs of the decade. Cable television became an affordable option for many of Americans, with programs like MTV, or music television, which helped unknown artists to hit the big time. Also, people could have been more informated about what was happening in their country as the 24-hour cycle started with CNN, which also won legal access to pull White House footage in 1982. Do you remember what I said about Wall Street and all of this? Well, the yuppie culture appeared. They were well-educated professionals, almost all the times were young people that were inspired by moguls, like Donald Trump. It was the decade of E.T., Star Wars, and other legendary films such as Terminator
Or Ranging Ball.
So that's all for today. Thank you for seeing me and see you soon. This is my best intent of 80s makeup.